Thank you for coming. And thank you, Rita Mae, for sharing this evening with me. But really, I just want to thank Marion, who has never said no to me in any of my projects and schemes and dreams. And she still takes my call when I say I have an idea. So, and I have another one, by the way, so after this. But I just want to thank you so much, Marion, for always being there for me. And my animals, but when I sent Mary Alice my words, because I was missing Virginia and wanted a project up here, in a week, I started getting these beautiful illustrations painted that totally brought Lucy to life. So I thought, I've got to do something with this now. So, and I did. And I'm so happy I did. But it is about a senior pet, which everyone here has had. So I'm not going to preach to the choir here. But more than that, tonight it's to raise money for the spay neuter at Fauquier SPCA, which to me, prevention is the gold standard in any issue. So that's my story. And I thought they were going to be here to speak to their programs, but they're not. So I hope you'll pick up their literature, and you probably already know about them. But anyway, I'm going to pass this to Rita Mae.
No, you're supposed to talk about your book.
No, well, it's self-explanatory. I mean,
it's really not. Trust me, it's really not.
Okay.
They want to hear from you.
Yes. You want one in your hand?
No, I think I've got it down. No, it was just, I went back to school in my 30s for animal science in Texas, and I picked up another dog, and she was old, and she was one of 40 that I've had, but she's the one I wrote about. And I just feel very strongly that animals are not selected because of cosmetics or their breed or anything like that. It's the ones that really need us the most. And that's where I've always led with. And I mean, let's face it, I'm not show quality, so why should I look at a dog and demand show quality? I always find that so offensive. Well, oh, this dog is show quality. I'm going, have you looked in the mirror? It's crazy. So anyway, that's my story. It's so not special. It's just something that I've been doing since I was 6 years old. And I know when you get older, you're supposed to lose your filters, but I didn't get that memo. This is the same speech I've had since I was 6. I've been calling out people my whole life, and I have tempered it a bit because I know it could be dangerous. But anyway, I'm sorry. But anyway, thank you all for coming, and that's really my story. You're all so kind. All right, girl.
Thank you, Cathy, and thank you, Mary Alice. I can't wait to see and read this book. I too, I've had many senior dogs, and they have chosen me, and also horses, and that is what we in this room know probably best. And so it's going to be very special. Thank you for the effort. Tonight, as most of you know, Dr. Rita Mae Brown is here, and we're going to hear from her on her new book, Time Will Tell. It is upstairs. Cathy's book is upstairs, and Marion says after we're done, please go up if you like a copy, purchase it, and bring it back down for the signing down here. Okay? Business first, right? But just a couple words from Rita Mae. We want to hear her talk. Rita Mae, if you don't know, has been publishing books since the early 1970s on not the Sister Jane series and Sneaky Pie, but a variety of subjects, nonfiction, fiction, and also poetry. So, sometime in the winter, if you would like to delve a little further, please check out some of the other topics that she's written on. We know she is an accomplished author. I think what I've enjoyed most is hearing her convey human nature through the animals and the animals in the stories. And being a fox hunter and a beagler, and I know most of us in this room have an association with the horses, you can identify with that. And it makes it so special. And you know, a person with a personality like that, or an animal with a personality like that. But it really is the wisdom, and there is just not enough time to have a conversation with Rita May about animals and their natures. And as you know, she is a master of foxhounds, Oak Ridge foxhounds, and that probably gives her a lot of thoughts to work into her stories. And of course, the fox hunters and the people involved, and the people in our community and our landowners. We love to hear her thoughts through the characters on conservation and preservation, and that's really where my heart is at these days as I'm looking at the disappearing countryside and what can we do to help preserve our sport and the activities that we like with our animals. So with that, before I go on and on, I would like to us to give a warm welcome to Dr. Rita Mae Brown.
Thank y'all for being here. I mean, some of you, we've hunted together, and Mary and I have hunted together, and Ashland Bassett's and Nantucket Terrier and Beagles and fox hunting. And this is supposed to be senior moments. Well, I'm almost there having a senior moment. My birthday's on Thanksgiving. So at that point, I think I'll be senior. But I look at this. I mean, I can do everything I always did. Most of you can. Jumping is no problem. It's the landing. That's what gets you now. But one of the things that I think we're all facing, and we realize in the beginning of hunting, or well, most of you, I mean, you know, you've been doing it anywhere from 20 to 50 years, depending on how old you are. We never thought about development. We recognized PETA was gaining speed, and they have the big one-page ads in Wall Street Journal and stuff like that. But now I think all of us realize the real crisis is development. I mean, I get the Kiplinger newsletter, which I like a lot, and this week's issue, they have a whole thing about development and construction. And we are losing 6,000 acres a day, which it's hard to believe. And of course, this is an incredibly beautiful area, and the only way people can protect it now is you have easements and stuff like that. But I don't know how to rethink it. I think one of the things, I mean, realtors can help, and of course they all want to make money, but if there were a way that your zoning commissions could be a little tougher, so you save the really beautiful parts, and other parts, you know, can build beautiful houses, so to speak, because once houses are on them, they're never going to return. So we have to be careful about where we put these developments. And we also have to be careful because of runoff. I mean, you got to look at the topography and the water and all that kind of stuff. But can we do it? Yes. I really think it depends on us. If you put pressure on officials, I don't care what party they are, they're going to eventually bend. You know, it's all a numbers game. I don't care what it is. And as you know, you've heard this from me before, the difference between the Republican and the Democratic parties is the difference between syphilis and gonorrhea. So once you accept that both parties are just failing you nonstop and don't care about you and never will, you can get things done better. Don't worry that you hurt them. Don't ever worry that you hurt them, because they aren't worried that they hurt you. You know? So you just got to get yourselves together and put pressure on them. And the other thing I have noticed through the years is whenever money goes to the government, it sticks to the hands it goes through. So it never gets right where it's supposed to be going. I mean, if you go up to New Jersey, there are people there that still haven't gotten money for Sandy's damage. So don't be too trusting. You know, look out for yourself, but look out for your people. And we are our own people. We're the people that are, I mean, we see the environment before other people do. You're out there hunting or you're out there beagling, and you see stuff that nobody else sees. You're behind some of these beautiful estates. You see how the deer are faring or not. You see if their teeth are going. You see the bear. I mean, we have a real uptick of bear back where I am in Nelson County. I mean, I've got them all over the place, and they're perfectly fine. I mean, they don't bother you, really. They scare the horses, but they don't bother you. So you can see this in turkeys. I have never seen so many turkeys in my life. My gosh. So that tells you, okay, what's available to eat, who's able to breed unmolested, et cetera, et cetera. People driving to work from a nice suburb to the city never see that. So you really are the first line of defense against development and harm to various species. And that's why, you can join environmental groups and all that, and I hope you do. But at some point, like if you live in Warrenton, you need to be spending time down at the county courthouse if there's a problem. And most of the people there live here too. So they can't say they're on your side, but most of them will be on your side. They want to protect this county. And it's a beautiful county, as you know. Look at the development in Rappahannock. Would you ever believe there would be development in Rappahannock like there is now? It's going to be beautiful. Those are going to be really expensive homes. But nonetheless, you're not going to be hunting over that territory. So I feel that this is one of our missions is all of us who are enjoying what we do enjoy. The other thing that occurs to me so much is... if you have one of these phones, what do you call them, iPhones or whatever? I have one, but I try not to look at it very much. But stuff pops up on my phone, and oftentimes it's stuff about wildlife, and it's very Disney-like. Not much of it is realistic. It's nice to see, but you realize there are people there who are constantly thinking of animals in pet terms. Wildlife, they're not pets. And so they can't accept that nature's brutal. But it is. It's kill or be killed. So that doesn't mean you run out and kill one another, although there are times when you're tempted. I know that. But that's the other thing. I was talking to a couple of the masters here. The problem is never the hounds. The problem's the people. If you're a master, and there's always an uproar somewhere, and you've got to settle it and smooth feathers and this and that. But it's okay. That's your job. That's what you got. And I think that's any leadership position. But what I would encourage you to do is talk to one another, because you're not the only person thinking the way you're thinking. And to rely on somebody else to be the leader, no, you're the leader. That doesn't mean you have to run a group. But if you start talking to other people, whether it's your hunt club or whatever your desires are, even bridge, stuff happens. You hear echoes and people say, well, I never thought of that, but, or yeah, I've been thinking about that too. That's the only way we're going to make a difference. You cannot rely on any politician, especially now. It won't work. So the only person you can rely on is yourself, and the people like yourself who really would just like to have the potholes fixed. I don't think simple competence is too much to ask, but where I am in my life now, I think simple competence is revolutionary. It's easy to pick on people that are elected officials, and we do have some very good ones. We have 2 good senators in this state. Sometimes to me they get a little left over there, but they have to. They're members of the Democratic Party. But they have delivered for our state, which is what we want. And we also had a governor who was smart enough to have a fundraiser for Trump up in Northern Virginia. You can say that's terrible. No, it isn't, because now we're in good shape thanks to our governor and the president we have now. That's how the game is played. You can't talk about morality and what you like and what you don't like. Once again, it's numbers. It's who's in power and can you get to them when you need them. We're going to have a gubernatorial race in 2 years. Start lining up now for who you want. Talk to them. Get to them, talk to them, and say, well, have you really thought about development and what it's doing to us? They need you. You don't need them. They need you. And as long as you remember that, it gives you the pathway. That's why first you got to talk to one another. You're not the only person thinking these things. And the other thing is, you're sitting in the room looking at me. Okay, I know some of you, and some of you won't like this word, but you are the elite. You are the leaders of your communities. You read. Readers are always the elite for thousands of years. It's no different now. There are people in America who can't even get syntax. That's how bad our schools are. I'm not telling you something you don't know. You've heard it. You've seen it on a letter. Hell, they can't even write. And these aren't necessarily stupid people, but they have not had an education. You have. You've incorporated it into your life. You don't even know what you know. It's just second nature to you. But you can read, you can write, you can express yourself. Some are better than others, but you can do it. That puts you in a special class. You are therefore capable of reaching other people. You just have to say, who am I talking to? What's important to them? Is that acreage over there that's going to have a substation, is that important to them? Do they want to hear that substation if their house is a couple 100 yards away? Now, the good thing about it is if there's a problem, they'll probably still have electricity and you won't. But you'll pay for it in other ways. So that's the way you start thinking. And I think many of you do. But, whenever I come to Marion's and I look at the people who come, I recognize you're the bulwark, whether you want to be or not. Nobody's going to do it but you. But that's also pretty exciting, isn't it? Yes. Who wants to live in boring times? Who wants to live without challenges? And every one of you in this room has been in Sarah's kitchen and licked all the pots clean. And you're here. You lived. You made it. So you can do anything you want up to a point. Will you get pushed back? Will you get kicked around? Yeah, but that's life. Learn to kick back. Get those pointy boots. I don't do it. We used to call them cockroach killers. But I know I'm sort of pushing on here, but one of the things about this book, I'm not a good seller of my own books. I don't even think about it, really. I just write them because I have such a good time doing it. But this one, time will tell. There's a subplot in there about what happens to damaged women. What happens to women that have been in prison or sidetracked in some way and they've done undesirable things, such as sex workers, et cetera, et cetera. And two of the people in this book find these women and give them construction training so they can go out and rebuild old houses and all that, and get skills that are higher paid than what women usually do. So that's a subtext, and you like the two women that do this. Of course, it comes to an end, but nonetheless. But so I had to investigate some of this stuff, and investigate this still rather steep gap between women's earnings and men's earnings. And look, we've had patriarchy for over 16,000 years. Do we really think we're going to settle it in a generation? Every woman in this room was born a second-class citizen. Every woman in this room will die a second-class citizen. Is there any woman in the room that doesn't know that? Is there any man in the room that doesn't know that? So here's the deal. You do what you can with what you have. You make it a little easier for the next guy. And you don't keep pointing fingers and say, oh, gee, you're white, you have male privilege. I don't know. We talk about testosterone poisoning, but I've seen a lot of estrogen poisoning. And I'm sure some of you have too. Everybody plays the hand they're dealt. And you do the best you can with what you have. If you have more privilege than somebody else, hopefully you can help somebody else a little bit. Isn't that what we do? And it's not really that complicated. And the one thing I think for most of us in the room is we're old enough to realize the world didn't start when we came into it. And that's what we're dealing with now. I know when you're young, you're always angry because the world's set up and you're not at the top of the heap and you don't want to start at the bottom and have to work your way up. That's been going on since the time of the pharaohs. But eventually everybody gets the message and works, and these people will too. It just might take an extra generation or two. I'm not sure. But nonetheless, we're all in the middle of it. We all can do what we can. But I appreciate your support for hunting, for environmental issues, and also just your communities. Just talking to people when they need it, listening to somebody when they need it. I mean, it may seem simple, but that may be the most important thing you did that day, and you didn't even think about it, really. I mean, maybe one day you looked at a kid who was struggling and you said, you can draw. Maybe that was all that kid needed to hear. Or, you got a good leg on a horse. Maybe that's all that kid needed to hear. And they start to come along. They begin to find themselves in what they can do. Every one of you has probably done stuff like that and hasn't thought of it. But who did it for you? I mean, that's the thing that fascinates me. Who did it for you? When did you find out what you needed to do? And are you now where you want to be, or is there more you want to do? And then what is that? I mean, it's really fascinating. It never stops. But the other thing is, as always, Marion just does everything better than anybody else. But I remember Marion when she started on Main Street in the old hardware store. Maybe some of you do too. I mean, look at it now. Isn't it incredible? I mean, that is a success story that's just fabulous. But I will babble on. But I thank you for being here. I thank you for your support of hunting and environmental issues and this and that. And, people need a hand up. They don't need a hand out. So I thank you for that. I think that's the way we get going. And I thank Cathy for being here. And I read the book. They sent me the book, and it was signed. It was wonderful. I thought, well, gee, what is this going to be? Because it was so colorful. And I opened it, and I started reading this story, and I thought, well, this is exactly perfect for a kid. And then I thought, well, yeah, I guess I'm that kid. This is perfect for me. But it's wonderful to share the table with her, and we'll sign your books. And I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Isn't it just the best holiday because they haven't figured out how to commercialize it? I mean, really. I don't know about you, but yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, but that's another story we'll have sometime, is the attack on spirit in our country. Americans have a very difficult time dealing with spirit and spiritual issues. We'll only deal with it if it's coded into religious ideology, and that doesn't always work, as many of you know. So, I mean, being an American is actually tricky. And we're Americans, and you don't even know it until you leave the country. And you see something, you say, oh, they do that better than we do. And then you come back home and you think, yeah, still, but I'm glad to be home. But anyway, thank you, and happy Thanksgiving. You can ask questions. She says she doesn't want to talk to you, but I know she does.
So I've had so many animals, and I needed more animals. And I went to the shelter and got Lucy, who was on her way out. But I really don't know why I picked her to write about, but she was just a little tan and white something. And I brought her back to Virginia with me, and we had a great run. And it's just, to me, it's a story that I've lived so many times that I just don't think it's special anymore. It's just so my life. And talking about it is not nearly as much fun as doing it for real. And I'm so much better at mucking a stall or bathing a dog or holding them when they die than writing about it. And someone told me once, gosh, you keep such a tight rein on your emotions. And I'm like, well, it's all in here and it's all up here. And sometimes you just don't need to regurgitate your life to everyone and your heart. And I think it loses something. And so I've always lived with it in here. And that's where most of it will stay. But she really inspired me, and Mary Alice just set me on fire when she sent me when I got this board, this beautifully illustrated scene. I thought, well, I've got to do something. I can't just let this die with my words. So anyway, I published it myself after shopping. I couldn't even find an agent. It was shark-infested waters, but I try. But anyway, I was so proud of what we did together, and we never had a conversation about what it should look like or what it should be, because I just trusted Mary Alice. And we actually have another one coming because we had so much fun together. So anyway, I'm just not that person.
She did this cartoon, right?
No, that's Claudia Coleman. Oh, who is another? Yeah, she totally gets it. But Mary Alice is here, and I just wanted to thank her for bringing Lucy to life. Oh, she's just like me. So anyway, hopefully we'll ride together tomorrow, and then I can recover from this thing that you made me do, Rita Mae. I'll be in full recovery. But anyway, thank y'all so much for coming. And I told some friends that I know Rita Mae is going to get a crowd. I'm just going to assume you all showed up for me. And I'm not kidding. Anyway, but thank you. And but Lucy was just one of so many, and I just chose Lucy.
You did come for her. Yes, ma'am.
I was just wondering, when you bring in a senior, do you have anything that you've noticed that's worked for you to acclimate like a senior pup?
This is what I do. I'll have 8 or 9 at the time.
I can't hear you without it.
Okay. I just throw them in the mix, and I say, this is your new friend. And I don't separate animals and let them anticipate meeting something, because by the time they do meet and they've heard each other, they want to kill each other. So I just say, this is your new buddy. And I've never had a problem, and I've had so many from so many different backgrounds, and I never worried about anything. I think you can make things happen with your fears and anticipating things. So I really don't. I've never had a fight, but I've always had. I had 13 at one time, and they all slept in my house. and I will say I did have a Basset Logan that I got from the Ashland Bassets that totally avoided one of my dog for 5 years in the house. They would walk by each other and they wouldn't even acknowledge each other. But there was never any. There were never. No, seniors are no different than. They all have needs. All animals have needs, and seniors just bring so much wisdom and so much experience, and some have been through such a bad time they're not going to give you what you think you want from them, but it's such a privilege to give them a dignified end. And I've always been there. I would never not be there, and it's just such an honor to have them in our lives, because we domesticated these animals, and we're responsible. And but I do think spay, neuter, get them before they hit the ground, because so we don't have these numbers. But when they do, just put yourself in their place. I hope someone takes care of me when I'm not able to take care of myself. So it's no different. It's just so easy to me. It's just. I thought we were all hardwired that way. I just did, but I had an education. But anyway, I feel very, very, very lucky to have given a home to so many animals, and it is a privilege. So, and I hope to continue.
And it really is a wonderful book. She was talking about spaying them before they hit the ground. I really believe that for the next presidential election, we should make a rule that whoever runs for president should be spayed and neutered first. We've got to do something, Anyway, it is pretty big. Are there other questions? If not, there's still food up there and the books and this and that. We'll sign your books. And thank you for being here. And one thing I forgot to tell you is, here I am telling you what to do and this and that. Every one of you sitting here knows something I don't know and Cathy doesn't know. And the reality is, we need you. We all need one another, but I need you. She needs you. Everybody needs to get out there and do what they can do, simply because of what you know. So, you know what my mother said, make hell with what you have. So, we'll sign your books and thank you.